cards for giving us the messages that we need to hear tonight. Calling on the energy of these cards to help us to gain deeper wisdom and receive guidance on how to move forward towards our greatest good. So tonight I have pulled from the Tarot of the Divine, and the reason I did this is because there's a great book that comes with it called Beneath the Moon, and in the spirit of Aquarian storytelling, I wanted to share the stories with each one of these cards. So there's these beautiful fairy tales and myths from around the world. That's what this book is, and I just love it. And I pulled a past, present, and future card, so maybe we'll just start there. So for the past card, I pulled the Three of Cups, but I pulled it inverted. So this is what it looks like usually, Three of Cups, but we've got it upside down. And I think this really represents the retrogrades that we're in right now. So this is a past card, and the Three of Cups typically represents a time of fertility, a time of fun and play, relationships. It could be a time of partying. It's a time of celebration. But when it is an inverted card, it shows up kind of in the opposite of that way. So the representation of our past, isolation, right? We went through a pandemic and we had to be locked down. The lack of fertility, the lack of being able to be in a relationship as much. There might have been a severing of relationships over different thoughts of opinion. It's happening a lot right now. So this past card is telling you to kind of look back at the way your life used to be, right? Full of all of these people, full of all of these plans, full of all of these events and excitement, and ask yourself, where do you need to make the change? Not all of those things of the past can sustain moving forward. There's a reason we've had this huge cosmic collective shakeup on planet Earth, right? It's because it's time to let go of some of our old ways. So during this full moon, look back on your past. Look back on your previous ways of living, also the choices that you've made, maybe choices that have helped you to live a fertile, abundant life, or choices that have maybe gone to your detriment. But learning to find the wisdom amongst all of it. Okay, so the story that goes along with this card, I'll show you the picture again. Of course, I almost lost it. Okay, so you've got these three women dancing here, and this is a Hindu mythological story or Cambodian story, and these women here are actually celestial beings, so they're almost like deities or goddesses, and they typically only associate with with their male consorts in the celestial realm or the spiritual realm. However, the queen of these beings, she kind of wants to live a different life or take a different perspective. And so instead of marrying or joining up with one of these male celestial beings like all of her daughters and sisters have done, she decides to come down to planet Earth and find a partner there. And she ends up finding a sage, and they get married, and Lord Shiva blesses them, and they have many children from there, and it's a beautiful life. But it took this queen or this ruler shifting her perspective, kind of humbling herself a little bit, kind of coming down to planet Earth and really looking at this life for what it is and the reality of it, and saying, yeah, I kind of want to learn these lessons. I kind of want to live this life instead of the life I have been living. So this is an opportunity for us to look at our spiritual selves, to look at our light being selves, and to remind ourselves that everything we went through in the past, actually this came up in my Reiki session tonight, every choice we've made, every experience we've gone through in the past that has been traumatic or dispelled cultivated some sort of darkness, or caused you to have some sort of negative attachment. It's important to understand that your light body, your spirit, chose that. Your spirit chose this life, chose to come down into this earthly body, chose to come to planet Earth and learn the hard knocks. So look at these things you've done in your past. Look at the choices, look at the decisions, look at the results. And anything that you've been viewing in a negative light, start viewing it in the positive light, that it was your lesson to learn. If you can't hold any other gratitude for it or any other love and light, just know that it was your lesson to learn. You chose it, whether you realize it or not. And when we can just start to view our past in that way, we start to have a little bit more understanding about things that come along our way in the future, or the same situation will make a better choice, or we have better wisdom to move forward, so to say. Okay, let's talk about the present card. For the present, I actually pulled an upright card. I pulled the Four of Cups. So here's the Four of Cups. And with this card, we have the Chinese Emperor with the tail of the nightingale. Four of Cups represents a little bit of being distracted, of living in the clouds, of daydreaming, of kind of thinking that the grass will always be greener on the other side, and not really seeing things for how they are right now in this golden present moment. So the story of the nightingale goes that there was the Chinese emperor, and he heard this beautiful bird singing out in the forest, and he had to have it. He had to, know where this sound was coming from. And so people took him out to this nightingale in the forest, and he took the nightingale back to his kingdom, and he attached her to a gold string and put her in a cage, and she sung for him, and all was well. But then this robotic bird comes along that can also sing, and sing just as beautifully, if not better. And the emperor starts to enjoy the presence and the company of the robotic bird instead of the real deal. And so the nightingale leaves because she doesn't need to be there anymore, and she's not being paid attention to, and she's not important right now. And then guess what happens? The robot bird breaks, and the emperor doesn't have his beautiful bird songs anymore, and he wants the nightingale back. So they seek and seek and seek, and they can't find the nightingale. And then one day the emperor is on his deathbed, and the nightingale shows up, and she sings a song that brings him back to health. And he says, "I must have you again." Like, he offers her the cage and the golden string, and she says, "I really prefer to be free." And he allows her to do that. And they live happily ever after, friends for the rest of their life. So being this age of Aquarius, being this full moon in Aquarius in this very present moment, and pulling this present card with the nightingale and the Four of Cups, we are being reminded to see the present moment for the gold that it is, to have gratitude for this present moment, and to embrace a little bit of freedom as well, right? Knowing that Aquarians love to be free, they love to not be tied down, they love to roam the world, they love to experience new cultures, but they also do it out of the benefit of the collective, right? They share wisdom, they help raise the frequency of the entire world. We are being asked to do that right now. This Aquarian full moon in the age of Aquarius, and 1 of 2, is just really shining light on Aquarian archetypal energy. It's time for us to look at the collective. It's time to allow ourselves to live a very free-spirited, joyful life full of song and dance, but don't let it do detriment to the outer world. We also have to have an appreciation for everything that we have right now, or we will never be able to have appreciation for things moving forward. Let's talk about the future card. Our future card tonight is Strength. So strength represents courage, right? But I also pulled this card inverted. So I had 2 inverted cards tonight. So for our future card, we have an inverted form of strength. And you can see that this girl here is wrestling some sort of beast that looks kind of like a lion. So, we're in Leo season and we just began it. So for the next few weeks, we will continue to be in Leo season, the season of the lion. And we are being called into bravery. We are being called into courage. And we're being called to keep moving forward towards our destination and our path. Kind of no matter what, to really believe in ourselves and believe in our own fire and to keep moving forward. So the story behind this one, it's a Scottish fairy tale, and there's this girl, Janet. She's walking through the woods and she meets this beautiful man. They have a great time. She goes home. Later, she finds out she's pregnant. Her family kind of disowns her, tells her that she needs to go back out in the woods, whatever. So she leaves and she's trying to find this man. She finds him. She kind of confronts him. She's like, hey, you got me pregnant. Hey, my family kicked me out. I don't have anywhere to go. And this guy says, well, my name is really Tamlin, and I've been captured by the Fae. And the only way for me to be released is for you to wrestle me off my horse and to hold me down. So she decides to do that. So she waits the next day, and all of the fairies are coming through, and she sees Tamlin on the horse, and she wrestles him off the horse, and she holds him down. And the Fae says, oh, it's not going to be that easy. This guy's my prisoner. And she starts turning him into all these different beasts, so that Janet has to wrestle these beasts and continue to contain him. And it finally gets to the point where he turns into some sort of lion, hippo, crocodile. And even then she persists and holds him down. And finally the Fae says, okay, I give up. You can have him. And she releases her spell, and Janet and Tamlin end up living happily ever after. He turns back into a man. They have many children, and so on. So what can we learn from that from the future? Well, to keep going. Right? To keep going no matter what other people say, no matter what other people think, no matter how many times other people, or even your outer voice, your little ego tells you, or your big ego tells you that you can't do it or you can't have it, to keep going and to embrace your strength. Now remember, I pulled the card reversed. When you pull the reversed form of strength, this is a little bit of a sign of, hey, you might have doubts about yourself in the future, or you may have too much pride. You might just get a big head and think that if you can wrestle this beast, you can do anything. The key is to find some sort of equilibrium, right? We don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. We don't want to think too big of ourselves, but we also don't want to think too little. So as we move through the rest of this lunar cycle, as we move through the rest of the solar season of Leo, it's really time to embrace your potential, to embrace your strength, and trust that you can go after your goals, that you can go after, the things that you desire, as long as they don't provide detriment to the collective, if that makes sense. I'm feeling a little all over the place today too, so hopefully things do make sense, because this air energy and Aquarian mixing with me has just got my brain a little scattered. I even found my past 2 classes, I was kind of tongue-tied when I was trying to teach. So let's just do a quick little review here. So we start with the 3 of Cups for our past card, reminding us that we've gone through times of isolation. We've changed a lot of our relationships. And we may just need to look back at our ways of living in our past and believe that there were great lessons to live out of that we basically just chose that life, no matter how much darkness came out of it as a result. If we learn to see the wisdom and learn the lessons, then we can move forward looking at these stories with a different light. For the present, the 4 of Cups. See the gifts that you have right now in the present. See what value your life has to offer you right now. Don't get too caught up in the other side, in the future, in the life will be better when, I will be happy when. Learn to find that gold in abundance now, because we are in the golden age. And for the future, find your strength. Find your willpower to keep going, even when you feel doubtful, even when others doubt you. You can succeed if you do persist. And also don't let it go to your head when you do. when you overcome the obstacles, when you find success, when you achieve your dreams. Be humble, be grateful, be thankful, and continue to live out of a beautiful, positive, radiant white light.